I'm Kara, and welcome to Soul Inspiring Business. I believe that all of us possess unique gifts and talents that allow us to serve the world and our own growth in the highest possible way. Our lives are an expression of our thoughts, beliefs, and actions. And here, we will explore businesses, thought leaders, and topics designed to inspire, helping propel your own growth so you can live your best and most purposeful life. Welcome to Soul Inspiring Business. Welcome back to the Soul Inspiring Business Podcast. I'm your host, Kara Chafin Donofrio, and today it's a solo show again. I promise we are going to have some amazing guests for you, and I'm lining up some of them for the next several months. Actually, we're going to start doing some in-person interviews as well, which I'm really excited about. Certainly doesn't change the interview style, but I think there is something special about being in person with someone. And so I'm excited about that kind of next evolution of the podcast. And of course, we'll be sharing those all with you. But for today, it is another solo show. So today I thought what I really wanted to share with you is this an expression. It's actually come up several times in the past week for me. And whenever that sort of happens, I start to pay attention to it. And it's this expression, be where your feet are. And I was at a conference last fall, and they had a monk that was there, and he was, the whole kind of theme for the conference was about really being where your feet are, having presence, and being there with presence for the people that you're with, whether that's your family, whether that's you're in a meeting and giving that person your attention, but really being where your feet are, quite simply. And I think that what's really awesome about that is that when you are in presence, when you can offer, and we talk about being a gift for others, well, you can be more of a gift for others when you are completely grounded and present in where you are, present physically in the space that you're in, and also fully present for that person. Because from that place, we then respond to whatever's going on. We respond to the conversation in a more present way. We have the opportunity to respond to whatever is coming our way with I think, a more highly tuned response. And one of the best ways that I think it to create this presence and to really be fully present is about having an incredible morning, a really grounded morning routine where your day begins in presence. And from there, you operate in the world from a more highly tuned state. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to share with you, we've done it on the show before, but I thought it might be worth revisiting what makes up a morning routine according to me, and according to what I found to be really highly successful, especially as an entrepreneur and, being pulled in many, many different directions. But it applies to entrepreneurship. It applies to, any really person. I mean, it could apply to a stay-at-home mom, because I think, we're all pulled in a lot of different directions. And so how can we approach our day with more intention versus, us running the day versus the day running us? And I think that that's what this is really about. And you've heard me talk about before, I think that when we are, to have a bigger life, a bigger business, or whatever it is that you're wanting to create, it's not about doing more, but it is about being present and actually even having a bigger energy about you, because people feel that. So when you walk into a room, if you have more presence, if you have more intention, if you're arriving with intention, people feel that. and they don't consciously even necessarily feel it, although they may, but they just are drawn to what you're giving out. And I think that, again, having a solid way of starting your day puts you into a better place and better opportunity, better mindset, better energy to attract more of these synchronistic opportunities to you versus, wait, having the alarm go off, pressing snooze, which I'll say I've been guilty of course, in the past. But pressing snooze again, and then just waking up and having, a to-do list a mile long and feeling like you're always behind versus, again, starting with a routine that puts you into a place of more success. And when you start from that place, again, that's the place where the magic happens. That's where opportunities seem to fall out of the sky because you're intentionally starting it with what it is that you want to create. And so we'll walk through these together. But and one of the things that it's interesting for all of my entrepreneurs out there, one of the things I learned early on in my career was working on the business in the morning, in the business in the afternoon. And so the idea there is that you're working on the initiatives, on the things that are most important. It's like that book called, Eat the Frog First or something along those lines. But it's where or, gosh, I'm going to butcher it, so I'm not even going to try. But you may know that expression where you kind of take the big bite of what you want to accomplish. What's the one thing you need to get done? You do that in the morning because you leave it to the afternoon, and without fail, there's people approaching you from multiple different, you're being pulled in a lot of different directions. Things happen in the day that pull you into something else. And so then, if you leave that one thing you have to get done to the afternoon, the chances of it happening are less. And so this idea of working on the business, so the most important things that you need to get done in the morning, call it, the initiatives that are most important to you, the things that you're working on. And then in the business is, the things that, so for example, to pull it into real estate, if you're working on a project for creating an onboarding platform for a team, for example, or you're working on a project where you've got, clients that are purchasing, and you're trying to find off-market opportunities for them. Those things you might do in the morning as you work on the business. Whereas in the business might be client meetings, things that are going to be, inspections on a property, a walkthrough of a property, appointments. Those are all done in the afternoon, right? Because those you don't have as much control of. But if you can do the things in the morning that are most important and that are actually going to move the business forward, that's where you want to spend your time. So if we take that and look at it from, again, you could apply that to business, you can apply that to life, and then break it down to, but how do we set up the day? How do we set up the day for success? Again, it starts with a routine. It starts with a morning routine that is going to put you in a place where you are able to attract what you want into being, work from a place of creation more so when you have some type of routine you follow. So I'll talk you through the 5 M's of the morning, I call them. And the first one, so we'll work through all these today. So the first one is movement. There is something about moving our bodies that gets us going, that gets our mind going. And it can be simple movement. And so these don't have to be done in any particular order, by the way. But movement is a really important one and it could be just a 15-minute walk, right? It could be you've got some low 5-pound weights or 10-pound weights, whatever, low for you. It could just be doing, some weights in the morning just to get your blood pumping, so to speak. Um, Personally, I know for me, I love walking. That is my best and most favorite way to just kind of get into a Zen mode. And it doesn't have to be a lot of walking. It can just be, again, 15 minutes. Now, when I really structure my morning, I love to have an hour walk. That's like my ideal, but that's not also every day. And that might just, again, depending on the day, depending on the time. I'm also coordinating. I'm a mom of three with a husband that likes to work out too. So sometimes it is figuring out what I can do that morning. And 15 minutes is good enough, right? Get on a treadmill, get on a walking pad, and just do it. The second M would be meditation, or sometimes it could just be a quieting of the mind. So when a lot of times I share meditation with people, there is this gut reaction sometimes of people that will say, "Oh, well, it doesn't work for me," or "I can't meditate," or there's no right way to meditate. Um, all we're trying to do in meditation is a quieting of the mind, is or also an awareness of what our thoughts are thinking, because there are most of the thoughts that come through on a daily basis are negative. And we also want to know or have the awareness of what is the story that our mind's telling us. So part of meditation, and they call it the monkey mind, but is that when you're watching, if you're the observer, so you go into, quiet. I have, I'll just even put, there's an app called Sacred Acoustics that has like a 20-minute free meditation. Oftentimes I'll even just go on YouTube and find sound bowls that are really healing and listen to that. And it's just a matter of taking in a small amount of time. I aim for 20 minutes. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, sometimes it's 5 minutes if there's not enough time that morning. But there is some amount of time where you try to quiet the mind. And again, part of what you're doing is trying to quiet, and part of what you're also doing is listen, like be having awareness of what thoughts are out there, and then saying to the thoughts that are saying, "Oh, this is stupid, this is silly, I can't believe you're trying to do this meditation thing, it doesn't work for you." Like, these are the thoughts you'll be thinking, because I've thought them. And then it's a matter of saying to those thoughts, or having awareness, like, "Okay, you said your piece, uh, it's time to be quiet now," right? And so it's literally that kind of back and forth. And you watch for those things, because those thoughts are good awareness into what's going on for you right now. What are the things that are pulling you into anxiety? Those are the things that are going to come up. And it's important to pay attention to those, and also know that they're not you, that they are the monkey mind, the thoughts. They are not your soul. They're not your soul essence. They are just thoughts. And they don't have to tell your story. They don't have to be the thing that tells your story. So having awareness on those, having awareness of where you are at that moment and how you might want to pivot is really important, because everything happens in awareness. When we're not aware, we're moving around unconsciously in the world. When we're aware, we can then make conscious choices as to the type of thoughts, the type of energy that we want around us, and that we want to move into our next version. What do we want to bring forward into the day? Do we want to bring forward these thoughts of, not being good enough or whatever? Or do we want to nip that in the bud and say, for now, we're not going to listen to that. We're going to quiet that, because I know that I am good enough to XYZ, right? I know that I am not these thoughts that are coming at me, and I have awareness of that, right? So even just simple shifts like that, believe it or not, it sounds kind of silly, but really make a difference in your day. Again, it starts with awareness and clarity. So that's number 2. Again, sometimes I would say, like, I may do the meditation first and then movement. Or sometimes you may have heard me talk about walking meditations. So those can be done at the same time. It could be just a walk in nature, 5 minute, 10 minute, 15-minute walk in nature. And you just quietly, and even setting an intention sometimes before going on a walk and saying, I'd really, God, help me know what you have planned for me today. Or, help me, maybe there's something you're trying to work out with the team or the business, God, help me figure out how I can best be, solve this XYZ, right? And maybe that's the intention going in, and then you let it go and you see what comes up. Um, Sometimes I get my best ideas by walking. So always carry your, or even in meditation, sometimes things will come in. Like yesterday, I was in meditation, and then I got this like hit on these core values and mission, because I'm building team, that I wanted to almost like a creed, like, um, you know, of what are the principles and values of the team. And I just, you know, it just was like a download that came through. So I actually got out my journal, and I just started writing because it was really interesting and important information that was coming through. So sometimes it may look like that. And again, when you're on that walk, when you're doing a walking meditation, always have my iPhone with me, because sometimes I'll jot down ideas. I may get a podcast episode idea while I'm walking, and, listen to the creative nudges that are leading you forward. I'm a big believer that there's always information guiding us. And so it's just up to us to listen and then to take appropriate action when we feel called to. So the two M's would be movement and meditation, or meditation movement, and they can be together, right? You can kill two birds with one stone. So the third M are messages. We just talked about that. This is listening to the messages that come through. I think when you are, and I want to say like grounding into some type of routine, but when you are connected to something larger than yourself, when you're connected to God, there is something special that happens when you go into, again, meditation or a walk with the specific intention of, how do I become closer to all that is? How do I become more in line with the person that I'm meant to be here on earth? How do I, and opening sort of this channel, so to speak, in this way of communication. And so then the third M, which is messages, is listening to those messages. It's listening to the wisdom that lives within you and that's all around you. And again, that's why I think walking in nature is so powerful, because it is uh, it is infinite intelligence, and we can tap into that, and listen to those messages that come through, and decide again with the filter of, is this for me? Is this not for me? And how can I use this information in my day? So that's number 3. 4 is taking the messaging a little bit further, is mind streaming. So I love journaling. I've been journaling for so many years. And if you've listened to the podcast before, you've probably even heard me talk about a book called The Artist's Way. It's a book by, I think it's Julie or Julia Cameron. And it's all about stream of consciousness journaling. She actually has a book where you actually write, I think she wants you to write for about 15 minutes a day. And the idea is that the first 5 minutes is like just kind of getting you primed, so to speak. And then the last, that you kind of have to write and stream for a certain amount of time until the gold comes out. I guess that's her philosophy. But it's an interesting one. And mind streaming, which is number 4, is sort of in that journaling way of allowing whatever kind of messages to come through and journaling them out. Now, this can look like a few different things. Sometimes it could look like you ask a question on the page. What would you have me do today? What is one of the most important things I need to get done today? And then journal it out, like what comes out. Because sometimes I'm surprised by the things that come out when I just pause enough to ask the questions. And it might be something that I didn't think of, or even interestingly enough, a person that comes to mind that I need to reach out to or call. And maybe that person wasn't on my mind before, but after kind of this exercise, it seems relevant. And I may not know why that person needs to be called that day or what's the importance of it, but I trust the guidance that I'm given. So I'll reach out to that person and see where it goes, right? So that's the idea of mind streaming. It can be asking a question on a page and then journaling it out. Or I am a big believer in the power of affirmations from the standpoint of it does get you into a space of believing and trusting and coming back to maybe the larger mission of what you're wanting to create. So and it's also sort of a mantra to live by. That's kind of how I see affirmations. Now, what the danger of affirmations is where you say something and it feels unbelievable. And so then you're constantly reaffirming the unbelievable piece of whatever that affirmation is. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. So let's say that you say, well, I am a wealthy woman, right? And there's something, and you don't think you are, then every day that you say I'm a wealthy woman, there is a piece that's saying, well, no, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. That you're reaffirming. You're reaffirming the friction, in other words. So one way to shift that is start to say, like, I am on my way to becoming a wealthy woman. I am on my way to creating abundance. I am on my way to growing my business, even though I might not know the how and when at this exact moment. I trust that I'm actually on my way to doing it. That's how to successfully use affirmations and to get in the energy of what you're wanting to create, not reinforce something that feels totally unbelievable. So, mind streaming can be journaling, it can be getting you into, again, from an affirmation perspective, the energy of what it is that you want to create, or the next version of you that you are creating consciously. So that's mind streaming. And so we've talked about movement, meditation, messaging or messages, mind streaming. And then the last one is mind mapping. So what's the difference between mind streaming and mind mapping? So mind streaming, I think, is I think of it as a little bit more of an unconscious journaling, or what's the right way? A stream of consciousness journaling. So you're asking a question, you're just allowing things to come through you. You may be, writing affirmations to get you kind of in this energy of what it is you're creating. Mind mapping is more about actually mapping out once you're in this. I think this is the one. These two are better done at the end, right, of the routine. But it's really once you've gotten grounded, once you've moved your body, once you're in a place where you are intentionally wanting to create something for that day, mind mapping is the end of that. It is the, okay, what things need to move the needle forward? How am I going to actually map out my day for success? And um, there's probably some element that you've done from the night before of, like, generally speaking, how you want your day to go. But mind mapping then can be tweaks of how do I shift this day now from the place of groundedness, from the place where I am fully present and fully ready to take on the day. Then what needs my attention first? I'm sure, if you've already got planned meetings, but how do what are the things that I also need to do to make sure that I'm working on the business in the morning, in the business in the afternoon, and really intentionally moving things forward with a larger goal at mind, right? You're creating a day of intention, and mind mapping is sort of the final piece to that, where you're just literally kind of putting some of the pieces together of who you need to call, of what you need to do, and mapping out the day. And for some of you listening that are like, oh my gosh, this feels like a lot, I can tell you all of this can be done very quickly. doesn't have to be a long drawn out routine. Because I'll talk to some people and they're like, well, I wake up, I have to immediately get the kids ready. I'm getting them out, thankfully we're in the summer right now when I'm recording this, so we're not figuring out school routine, but I've got to, get them fed. I've got to get them to school. I've got to get them to camp. I've got to, whatever I've got to do. And I don't have time to wake up in the morning and do this. But what I would challenge you with is I don't think you can afford not to do this. If you want a big life, if you want a present life, not even a big life, whatever that means to you, right? For some people, a big life could be, billions of dollars. For someone, a big life is more time and presence with your family. I mean, big life can be a lot of different things depending on who you are, what gifts you are meant to bring to the world, and how you want to do it. And so there's no right, wrong, God's certainly not judging us for, what we, but I think there is a relationship there of if you are feeling called to something to create, whatever that means for you, you owe it to yourself to try this and to bring intention into the day. Because again, whether it's to create billions of dollars or to create more presence with your family and community, it begins in intention, and your ability to make impact really is about the bigness of your energy. How are you showing up? Are you fully present? Are you where your feet are? Or are you always wishing that you're back doing that or they're doing this, right? If everything is about past or future, there's no time for presence, and you miss a lot of the moments. You miss a lot of the opportunities for joy, for love, for that quality time. You miss that when you're being pulled in a million different directions, and especially if you're being pulled backwards or forwards. So how can we create that bigness of our energy? How can we create more presence? And how can we create more impact in the world? It begins by being where your feet are, by consciously choosing into the life that you're creating. And it begins with intention. And one of the truest ways that I've found to begin the day with intention is in this morning routine. So I'll say the 5 M's again, and I challenge you this week to try it. Again, it doesn't have to be an hour to 2 hour window. It could be 30 minutes, and breaking it up into 30 minutes. You wake up 30 minutes earlier, you go on a 10-minute walk. You can even combine the walking meditation together. And then you sit down, you mind stream, you listen to the messages, and you mind map your day. So here are the 5. It's movement, getting out there, doing a walk. It's meditation. It's just silencing the mind and having awareness of the thoughts that are around you and coming towards you, and doing your best to quiet those. And 1 and 2 can be done together. 3 is messages. It's listening for the intuitive wisdom that lives within you, that's all around you. It's listening with intention for what it is that's meant for you at this moment. 4 is mind streaming. That is the journaling, the scribing, the asking of the questions and the revealing of the answers. And mind mapping is the conscious daily actions that you're going to take that day to more consciously create what it is that you are moving towards. So with that, everybody, I wish you a beautiful week ahead. I would love to hear if you are going to try this, or if you do try it, what kind of results you get. Please reach out to me. You can always DM me. I'm on Instagram at Kara Chafin Donofrio. And you can also email me at Kara, Kara, at kcdrealestate.com. So those are kind of the best ways to get me. And yeah, let me know how it goes. Sending you so much love. Until next time. Loved being here with you today and would love to connect with you more over on Instagram. My handle is linked to the show notes, or you can just type in at Kara Chafin Donofrio. And I have something special for you as a free gift, my Dynamic Life Journal. This special book has the power to really help you live a soul-inspired life. Go to freegiftfromkara.com. Easy to remember, freegiftfromkara.com. Until next time, beautiful people, sending all my love.